So you want incredible intimacy in your life. You want to thrive in your relationships. Are you focusing on the right things? The sad truth is many of us are not, but you're here and I'm here to help you. I'm Darshana Avila, your guide to all things erotic wholeness, intimacy, relationships, sexuality, embodiment, healing from our trauma, all the juicy goodness. Here for it. So let's talk about what actually are some of the building blocks of creating that deep intimacy. First and foremost, emotional safety. What does that even mean? A friend of mine was telling me the other day that she had a conversation with her father in which she said, I don't actually feel very emotionally safe with you. And his response was, what is emotional safety? And I'm using that anecdote to bring that in to acknowledge that many of us, particularly of generations past, like did not grow up with the thought of feeling emotionally safe in relationship, and we don't exist in a culture that has necessarily encouraged or reinforced that. Yet, what allows us to thrive as human beings is to feel like we are able to be honest and authentic in expressing who we are, how we feel, what we need, what we want, particularly to the people that we care the most about, and know that we're not going to be met with harsh repercussions, that we're not going to get shut down. So be honest with yourself, take an assessment of your relationships and ask yourself both how safe you feel, but also how are you contributing to that sense of safety for others. And one of the most fundamental things that we can learn how to do to bring that safety in is to cultivate a capacity to really listen to someone, take in what they're hearing, and when they're done speaking, say thank you. So, what I'm hearing is offer a reflection back as opposed to your own reaction, your argument. Oh, here's how this impacts me, or I don't agree with that. Even if those things are true, to make sure that the other person, if you care about them, knows that you've really heard them goes such a long way. And saying as much, being really explicit with your words. Thank you. I really appreciate you opening up to me. Hey, it's great for you to hear you speak your truth. I really care about that because I care about you. Even if I don't agree with it, I want to know where you're at. These kinds of things, even though me saying them now might seem a little bit like dry and rote, when we train ourselves to include that as some of the basics of how we're communicating, that emotional safety grows over time and intimacy can deepen. Other things that we can be doing is to really establish norms around consent, around knowing that each of us in our bodies, in our the scope of our lives, we want different things at different moments and we have agency. We have a right. We have control over what we experience, what we are available to, and what we do not. So don't assume that just because you're close to somebody and have hugged them a million times, that they always want a hug. Don't assume when it comes to your sex life that just because your partner loves a position much of the time, that they want it all of the time. And establish norms in your relationship around consent being something that you actually communicate, check in from time to time, use your words, and support one another in the knowledge that you get to change your mind. I get to change my mind. We don't always have to be a yes to the things that we are usually a yes to. Another piece of that is that when we are a no to something, the no is very often just no, I don't want to do this thing at this time. It doesn't always mean I'm a no to you. In fact, it can be really helpful to say, I'm not really up for that right now, but I want connection with you. How about fill in the blank? Make a different suggestion. Use your no as a pivot point, as a jumping off point to some other way of being in connection, of deepening the intimacy between you and this other person so that you really can have the satisfaction that you're looking for, even if the way that you get there might differ. Another tip: every relationship, you can think about it as having its own bank account that you are making deposits into or withdrawals from. And I don't think this concept is especially unique. I certainly am not the one who originated this. Maybe you've heard it before, but let's take a moment to really think about that. The deposits that we make come in the form of really appreciating another person, taking the time to say with words, in writing, through gestures, through acts of service, whatever it might be, like, hey, I see you, you matter to me. I appreciate this about you. I respect this about you. Those are ways that we can make deposits. When it comes to loverships, partnerships, intimate relationships where sex and romantic energy is being concerned, deposits can be made in the form of flirting, of compliments, of little sweet gestures, gifts, things of that nature. And I'm not talking about things that have to be very elaborate, expensive, anything like that. We're actually talking more about the small little deposits that you make so that when you have to make a withdrawal, and the withdrawal might be needing someone to give you the benefit of the doubt or some grace or some extra support when you're down. It might be a moment when you screw up royally, but this person knows that you really care about them because most of the time you're making deposits, so that withdrawal is not felt in such a deeply impactful way. It's really something that adds up and compounds over time, and you really get to choose. Do you want the deposits that you're making to be the thing that compounds over time or the withdrawals? Because if you liken that to your finances, you know where that's going to go, right? Keep making deposits, interest builds, you got more money. Keep making withdrawals without putting stuff in, and eventually you're going to end up broke and struggling. Don't do that to your intimate relationship. Another thing that's super, super important, you hear me talking about intimacy here. Sex is part of intimacy for many of us, but it is not an essential thing. And what matters more, we hear about, particularly for couples who've been together for a while and perhaps maybe are struggling to prioritize space and time for their connection. Intimacy dates matter far more than sex dates. And this is coming from somebody who spends my days counseling couples and individuals about how to do this well. Devoting time, space, energy to, hi, here we are together in true presence. The phones are put down, the screens are turned off, the distractions are put in check. I am here with you. You are here with me. And we get to open up to a low expectation, high possibility way of how do we want to connect right now? Do we want to take some deep breaths together? Go on a slow walk in nature? Trade some massages? Do we want to make love? Do we want to go do something fun and creative and playful and silly together? There's many, many ways to be intimate. And knowing what is most satisfying to you and this other person is really what is fundamentally most important. And then again, being really intentional in devoting space and time to that. Feeding your relationship in all of these ways: emotional safety, consent, deposits in the relationship bank, time and space to be intimate together, whether that's sexual or non sexual. These are the things that are going to really support the health of your relationship, and that's going to help you feel satisfied in your life because we are wired for relationships, truly. Even the most introverted among us, none of us gets on by ourselves. We are social creatures by nature. Touch, affection, witnessing, support, all the many, many things that I'm only naming a fraction of them that we get that are the benefits of being in a relationship. These things matter. You deserve them. So learn how to be more skillful at creating them for those you relate with and then receiving them back. That is going to be the key to your thriving. I hope you've enjoyed. Make sure that you are subscribed for more. And if you want to go into a deeper dive and are looking for some personal guidance, hit me up at my website because I would love to talk to you about how we can do that together. See you next time.